What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we got pretty big news in Star Wars Unlimited. Now, they actually dropped the big news when I was traveling home from an event in Frankfurt, but I'm here now, and I need to tell you about this news because you might have enjoyed the card Force Throw in the past. Yeah, Force Throw's gone, ladies and gentlemen. Force Throw is gone from Spark of Rebellion, and it's been suspended from Premier. That is the main standard format we use in events. In Trilogy format, where everything's legal, and in Twin Suns, you can still use it, but for Premier, for your main format, it's gone. And the thing is, Force Throw is an absurdly good, ridiculously playable card. One cost aggression, choose a player, that player discards a card from their hand. Then, if you control a Force unit, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the cost of the discarded card. Now, this is where it gets particularly good. One cost just making your opponent discard a card from their hand, that's a little bit annoying, but it's your opponent who gets to choose the card that is discarded. So essentially what they can do is go, well, I'm going to discard the least annoying card. I'm going to discard the card that I can cope with the loss of the best. It's not ideal, but you know what? I can get past this. It's going to be fine. The problem is you've now got to bear in mind that the card you discard is going to lead to damage coming down on your side of the board. So you may want to discard a high-cost card because it's early in the game and you might not ever be able to get to play it and it's not that useful in this matchup anyway. So you know what? I'll get rid of this one. But the problem then is that your opponent can just go, sweet, now I get to do a huge amount of damage. And it's only if you've got a Force unit in play that this actually works. The problem is, we just got Legends of the Force. That is the most, well, we didn't just get it, we got it a little while ago. But it is the most recent set. It is the set that came around most recently to play with Star Wars Unlimited. And that is very much a Force-focused set. It is a set where we take Force users and we put them right to the front of the... Oh. Okay. Now we get it. And that's the problem we run into here, is that all of a sudden we're now looking at this and going, well, okay, now this is going to work with the second part far more efficiently than it ever did before, and that's the problem that we have run into. Now, the good news is the lovely folks over at FFG have given a little explanation on the website, and they said this. Just before the release of Legends of the Force, we mentioned that there were older tools that we expect to perform better than they ever have before. That's an understatement. Force Throw and Force Lightning have both skyrocketed in play rate, with one of those cards performing just a little bit better than the other. In fact, one of them may be performing just a little bit better than nearly any card in Star Wars Unlimited history. Force Throw was played in just over half of the top 64 decks of the Galactic Championship and continued to have a high play rate as we moved into our planetary qualifiers. On a bad week, Force Throw takes up 35 to 40% of the top 8 meta share and around 45% of the winners. On a good week, each of those numbers can go above 50%. Additionally, each week between 65 and 75% of heroism decks to make top 8 include Force Throw in some capacity. And make no mistake about it, it was the advent of Legends of the Force which has caused this problem. They make the point in the article that before we had Legends of the Force, it was only really Quinlan Voss which was playing enough Force-using units to actually make good use of this. That is not the case here. One of the cool things about the Galactic Championships is that a really significant portion of the decks that did well and represented at that tournament were new decks from Legends of the Force. And on the one hand, that's a really very good thing. On the other hand, it shows quite how prevalent Force users have gotten. And then, of course, if Force users get that prevalent, we end up with Force Throw being an absurdly good card. And here it really is everything that means this card has to go. Partly it is just the very low cost, partly it's a hand disruption, partly it's the fact that you're taking out a unit or at least getting a decent amount of damage on the board. And partly getting rid of this is going to lead to force decks that aren't aggression actually coming out and having a little bit of a chance to do well. Because make no mistake about it, now when you're playing force and you're trying to deck build, you look at this and you go, well, hang on a second. If I go aggression, then I'm going to be able to play force throw. That's mighty tempting now, isn't it? And yes, it is mighty tempting. Was this a surprise? No. Like, we all went to the Galactic Championships talking about a force throw meta. This was one of the big questions, the big discussion points going into Galactics was how good was this going to be and was it going to end up getting banned? And coming out of Galactics, we all basically said, yep, that was about as bad as we thought it was going to be. So, yeah. Got rid of it. The interesting question now is how things are going to change. And, of course, why didn't other cards get banned or suspended, as is the parlance of Star Wars Unlimited? And the answer is they didn't perform quite well enough. They didn't cause quite so much of a problem. And yeah, there might be more bans again in the future, but you know what? I'm kind of alright with this. I like having a game where the company running the game are keeping an eye on everything to make sure we don't have a couple of deck strategies, cards, whatever it might be, running away with a metagame. That's not fun. So yeah, there might be more bans again in the future, and I'm totally okay with this. I like adapting to new strategies. I like having the format not dominated by one strategy deck, whatever it might be, and I think this is a good thing. Awful lot of people in, say, the Facebook group suggesting that Hand 1 might now become a much better deck because it's not being oppressed by Force Throw. And, of course, the decks that then used it, some of which will get put on the back burner now they've lost one of their best tricks. The answer is it's way too early. We'll have to start testing. We'll have to start having a bunch of events and seeing exactly what happens. But let's not pretend aggression doesn't still have some tricks. They mentioned Force Lightning as a card, which was clearly in consideration here, as being a bit too good, potentially broken. But it didn't get the ban hammer dropped. By the way, if anyone's got a ban hammer phrase for suspended, let me know, because dropping the ban hammer is too good a phrase. If someone's got something for suspended, do let me know. Force Lightning, not good enough. But that's also a one-cost card. Now, this is Aggression Villainy, and you get to choose a unit for it to lose all abilities, and then if you control the Force unit, so again, much better with Legends of the Force, you can pay any number of resources and add 2 damage to the chosen unit for each resource paid this way. So it's not strictly a one-cost card. It's way better than it used to be, seeing a bunch of play, but it's not oppressive like Force Throw was. So there we go. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this ban. Tell me if you think it was warranted. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about Star Wars Unlimited and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.